Good evening to all of you again. So I think we can start the lesson for today. I was just waiting for one or two more students to join, but I think we have few more students join. So we will start today's lesson with activity 16 in your pupils book, right? So last time we ended this activity, which is how we are going to use has, have, uh, does not, did not, how we are going to use it. So today we will start with this activity, right? So activity 16, let's see what do we have to do here. Read the poem and answer the questions given below, right? So what does a poem means? What is the difference of a poem and maybe a normal paragraph, right? So we have been reading different paragraphs, but today it says read the poem. So does anyone know what a poem is? Yes, anyone who would like to share your thoughts, what a poem is and how does it differs from a paragraph? Right, it's okay. I think all of you might know, even though I didn't get any answers, but since time is moving, so a poem, right? So if we consider a normal paragraph or something which we read, we know we have full sentences and we have to go align with all the grammar and everything. But when it comes to a poem, it is another way of expressing the thoughts of a person, but in a more, we could say, not exactly in sentences, right? So you can see, even if you see here, it does not have complete sentences, right? So it is a collection of different phrases, how I'm going to explain myself, explain regarding something, and maybe with a little bit of a touch of musical aspects, right? So when you read this poem, you will see that we find different rhyming words, right? So that means we are trying to make it a little bit more sound nicer than a normal paragraph, right? So if we take even in a paragraph, what we try to do is to express whatever the feelings or whatever the message we want to convey to someone else. So this is also again going to be another way, but the way we arrange the things we want to explain would be different, right? So anyone who would like to read this? Mm, today everyone is silent. I don't know. I think all of you can hear me clearly. I think I'm not talking to myself. So is there anyone who would like to read this to your friends? You may raise your hand if you like to read it. Right. Okay. I can see Kalani has raised her hand. So yes, Kalani, you can start and read it.
As I was going to I met a man with 7 wives. Each wife had 7 sacks. Each sack had 7 cats. Each cat had 7 kites. Kites, cats, sacks, and wives. How many were going to If?
Right. Okay, good, Kalani. Right. Okay. So when she was reading, maybe you have noticed that there were some rhyming words, right? So I will read it once again for you. So just listen. Uh, what is the difference between a poem and a paragraph, right? As I was going to St. Ives, I met a man with 7 wives. Each wife had 7 sacks. Each sack had 7 cats. Each cat had 7 kids. Kids, cats, sacks, and wives. How many were going to St. Ives? Right? So I hope all of you heard it well. So you can see it talks about a person, the person who is writing, he is going somewhere and he is meeting a person and his wives along with some cats and kittens, right? So in the first line, it says, as I was going to St. Ives. So St. Ives is a city, right? So that person, the person who is writing the poem is going to St. Ives. And while he was going, he met a man with 7 wives. So I think you know what is the meaning of wives. අපි සිංහලෙන් කියන්නේ බිරිඳ කියලා. ඒ බිරිඳට තමා අපි ඉංග්‍රීසි වලින් කියන්නේ wife. So here it says the person that this poet met had 7 wives, right? So not only one, but he had 7. The next line, each wife had 7 sacks. So what do we mean by sacks? සිංහලෙන් අපි කියන්නේ ගෝනි කියලා, right? We put these different things in sacks, right? අපි ගෝනි වල අපි විවිධ දේවල් දානවා. එතකොට හැම බිරිඳකටම ගෝනි 7ක් තිබ්බා, right? And each sack had 7 cats. So in each of these sack had 7 cats, right? පූසෝ බලලු 7 දෙනෙක් හිටියා. Each cat had 7 kids. So here this kids means kittens, right? So it is a shortened form used here. Why it is used as kids is just to make sure that it rhymes with this word, right? I think you know what are the rhyming words. Again, අපි කියවනකොට එකම ශබ්දයකින් අවසන් වෙන වල තමයි අපි කියන්නේ rhyming words කියලා. So cats, rats, mice, lice. So likewise, we can find different rhyming words. So one of the key things which we can notice in a poem is there will be this kind of rhyming words, right? The next line, kids, cats, sacks, and wives. So all these are the ones who were in the journey with the man. How many were going to St. Ives, right? So it is just like an incident, right? යම් කිසි සිදුවීමක් විස්තර කරනවා. It is not in a sentence, right? So if I wrote this in a paragraph, I would say when I was going to St. Ives, I met a man. He had 7 wives. Likewise, it is going to be like full sentences. But here we can see the poem consists of different phrases, right? So that is the difference between a poem and a normal paragraph. So why do we have poems? So even when we consider in Sinhala language, අපි දන්නා අපේ සිංහල භාෂාවේ ඕගොල්ලෝගේ සිංහල පෙළ පොත්වල ඇති සිංහලෙන් අපේ තියෙනවා කවි. එතකොට කවිවල අර එලි සමය රකින්නවා කියලා කවිය අවසානයේ හැම එකම එනවා යනවා කනවා බොනවා ඒ වගේ එකම විදියට අවසන් වෙන වචන තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඒ වගේ සමාන එකක් තමයි ඉංග්‍රීසි වලදී තියෙන්නේ poem, right? So they do not have the same type of kavi කවිවල තියෙන same සියලුම සමානකම් එතන නැහැ. But we can see some similarities, right? So that is what we generally identify as a poem, right? So I hope the idea of this poem is now clear to you. So I will just give you few minutes. We now have as the second activity, read the poem, and then we will have to answer the questions given below, right? So now we understand what this poem is about. So now we will have to find the answers for these 6 questions, right? So I will give you about 5 minutes, right? So we'll take 5 minutes and you try to think about what are the answers. But when afterwards we will discuss, but when you write the answers, make sure that you write the answers in full sentences, right? I think I have mentioned it earlier as well. Maybe when we are simply talking with someone else, somebody is asking me, where are you going? I will say to Colombo, right? So I may not be giving the answer in full sentence, but when we are writing in a document, we need to give the answer in a full sentence, right? So in that way, if somebody asks, where are you going? I have to say, I'm going to Colombo, right? So likewise, when you are coming up with answers for these questions, make sure that you write it in full sentences, right? So just take 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, we will discuss the answers, right? So if you have anything which is not clear, please ask me. I will explain further. Take 5 minutes and answer these questions quickly.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, Vitulya?
Teacher, the first question is who was going to send Ives?
Yes.
Teacher, is it okay if we write the poet or a speaker? Because it says, as I was going to St. Ives, I met a man.
Yes, so exactly, you are correct. So it is the poet or the writer, right? So you can say the poet was going to St. Ives, or else you can say the writer was going to St. Ives. Because we cannot say it is not me who is going, but it is the person who is writing the poem. So we have to say the poet or the writer. Right. Okay. So I hope you had enough time to answer the questions. I have just written down the answer for the first one as we discussed. Going ahead with Vitulya's question. So for the first one, who was going to send Ives, we can give the answer as the poet was going to send Ives, or else even if we can write the writer was going to send Ives, right? Either one would be correct. Okay, then second question, whom did he meet? So if you know the answer, I know you all of you know the answer, you can raise your hand. Yes, I can see Kalani raised her hand first. So yes, Kalani, would you like to give the answer for the second question? Whom did he meet?
A man with 7 wives.
Yes, correct. So as I said, when we are writing the answer, we have to give it as a full sentence, right? So we can write it as he met a man with 7 wives, right? Right? So we will have to give the answers with full sentences, right? Whom did he meet? We know that when we use did in a question, we have to use the present tense, even though the meeting happened earlier. Whom did he meet? So the answer should be he met a man with 7 wives, right? So the third question, what did the wives carry in the sacks? Right. I think it was Sulaksha who raised her hand after Kalani. So Sulaksha, would you like to try the answer for the third question?
7 cats.
7 cats. Okay. Any other answers? Anyone who would like to add any other answers?
The wives were carrying 7 cats.
Yes. So as I said, we need to write the answers with full sentences, right? So the wives carried 7 cats in the sacks, right? Here, since we actually are commonly mentioning the wives carried, maybe we may not need to mention 7 because each wife carried 7. So altogether they have a 49 cats. So we will write the wives carried cats in the sacks. Right? So always remember we need to give the answer as a full sentence. Right. Okay. The fourth question. How many people were going to St. Ives? Okay. I think Bashita, would you like to try the answer for the fourth question?
8 people were going to send.
Right. I think what you said was 8 people were going to St. Ives. So any other answers?
9 people were going to St. Ives.
Yes, so this is a bit tricky question because we know it says a man with 7 wives. So there are 8 people, but the poet is also going, right? So it says, I was going to St. Ives, right? So in that case, we can say 9 people were going to St. Ives, but since the question is tricky, even though if the students give it as 8 people were going to St. Ives, it would be considered as correct in this case. So in that case, I will write 8 or 9. You can write either 9 or 8, right? So it can be considered in either way. 9 people were going to St. Ives. Right. Okay, 9 or 8, right? So either would be correct. So the fifth question, write the rhyming words in the poem, right? So maybe Sulaksha, would you like to try? Or I think I didn't give the chance to Vitulya and Ishini, I guess. Yes, so maybe Vitulya, would you like to try? Write the rhyming words in the above poem.
Okay, teacher. Ives and wives, sacks and cats, kid. Sorry, madam.
Yes, Ives,
Only those few pairs.
yes, Ives and wives. And then we had sacks and cats. And then we had kids, and then we have again wives and Ives, right? Right. So we can consider, because we have already written Ives and wives. Here it is again wives and Ives. So in that case, we can consider that we have already mentioned it. Right. Okay. We have the last question. Give a suitable title to the poem. Okay. So I think Ishini, would you like to try? What do you think? What is the name which suits this poem?
Saint Ives.
Right. Okay. So you suggest St. Ives. Okay, that is good. Any other suggestions by anyone? Kalani or Vitulya, would you like to try?
My trip to St. Ives.
Sorry, Vitulya, I didn't hear you.
My trip to St. Ives.
Yes, my trip to St. Ives. Right. So we can say my trip to St. Ives, or else I can say my journey to St. Ives. So likewise, we can give a title which we feel good, right? So even St. Ives, yes, we are talking about people who are going to St. Ives. It is correct. We cannot say it is. It depends on how we feel, right? Okay. Or else even we can say the man with 7 wives, even, right? So likewise, we can come up with different uh, titles. It doesn't matter, right? So these are few or couple of suitable titles, right? Okay. So with that, I think we have completed all the activities in the pupils book, unit 1, right? And then I thought today under unit 2, we will start with the workbook, right? Because I think this exercise seems to be a little bit interesting, which we can discuss quickly. So unit 2 in our workbook, we will start. It is friends indeed. So we will start with the first activity, right? Right. Okay. So if we read what we have to do in this activity, rewrite these in the possessive form using the apostrophe correctly, right? So the most important words here is the possessive form and apostrophe, right? I think all of you know it. So what do we mean by possessive form, right? So possessive form means generally it is to let know someone else that something is owned by someone or something's belonging to someone, right? So that is what we mean by possessive, right? So in the possessive form means that is owned by a particular person. So how we are going to indicate that something is belonging to a particular person, or it can be anything, any noun, right? We use the apostrophe mark, right? This is one of the punctuation marks. I hope what do you mean by punctuation marks. So we have full stop, we have commas. So likewise, we use different marks to make what we write more meaningful. So we know the best example here we have, right? So we end the sentence with a full stop so that the person who is reading knows that the sentence ends here. So this is the idea of this particular sentence. Or else we can use commas, likewise apostrophe, which you can see here. It is a comma, but we write it at the top. That is what we mean by apostrophe, right? So we'll see the first example. The tie that belongs to Mina. So this is what I said, belongs to, right? So possessive form, right? So possessive means I have something, you have something, right? So that means belong, right? So this tie belongs to Mina, right? So how we are going to write it is we have to write whose. This tie is Mina's, right? So then we will have to write Mina apostrophe S, right? This is Mina's, right? As an example, if we take in Sinhala, right? අපි කියනවා මේ මගේ පොත. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මාව හඳුන්වන්නේ මම කියලා. හැබැයි යමක් මට අයිති කියන එක අපි හඳුන්වන්නේ මගේ. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔබගේ, ඔහුගේ, ඇයගේ. එතකොට අපි එතනදී අර සාමාන්‍ය නාම පදයට ගේ කියන අකුර එකතු කරනවා. එතකොට ඒ වගේ අපි ඉංග්‍රීසි වලදී apostrophe එකයි s එකයි තමයි එකතු කරන්නේ, right? This does not mean Meena is, right? So there is, we know that in the activity 2 we actually do it. That is writing or combining two words into one word, right? So you here you can see there is, and it is combined as theirs. So here it is apostrophe s means there is, but here we cannot say it is Meena is tie. No, it is simply Meena's tie. It is not a combination, or we have not combined two words, but simply we have added an apostrophe and an s to show the belongings to someone, right? So the tie belongs to Meena is said to be Meena's tie, right? Okay, so we have 10 such phrases given for which we need to find the answers. So I think we can directly discuss what are the answers rather than giving time, because it is easy, right? So maybe in the list we have Bashita. Okay, so Bashita, would you like to try the first one? The pen that belongs to Lahiru. So we have to say who belongs it and what is belonged by that person, who is belonging and what exactly belonged by that person, right? Okay, Bashita, would you like to try the pen that belongs to Lahiru?
Lahiru's pen.
Yes, very good. That is Lahiru's pen. So we will have to see what is the noun. In this case, it is Lahiru and pen, right? So Lahiru has a pen, so that we can say Lahiru's pen, right? And then the second one, the frock that belongs to Purni. Okay, Ishini, would you like to try the frock that belongs to Purni?
Purni's frock.
Yes, very good. Purni's frock. So we have to add apostrophe s. Purni's frock. So only thing is here, nothing's difficult. We have to identify who belongs it and what, right? So those two, if we can identify, we can easily rewrite it. Okay. Third one, The towel that belongs to Balan. Kalani, would you like to try?
Yes, teacher. Balance towel.
Yes, very good. So that should be balance towel. So apostrophe S, right. The shop that belongs to Mahim. Sulaksha, would you like to try?
Mahim's shop.
Yes, very good. Mahim's shop. Right. And the next one, the umbrella that belongs to Darren. Vitulya, would you like to try?
Darren's umbrella.
Yes, very good. Darren's umbrella. Right. And then we are coming to the sixth one, the cup that belongs to the baby. Bashita, would you like to try?
Baby's cup.
Yes, baby's cup. Right, it's baby's cup. Right, so generally we know when we talk about babies, right, like in plural form, it is B-A-B-I-E-S, but here we have B-A-B-Y apostrophe S, so it is not plural. That is, we are mentioning that the cup, the owner, who is the owner of the cup, that is the baby, right? And the seventh one, the kennel that belongs to my puppy. Ishini, would you like to try?
My puppy's kennel.
Yes, you can say my puppy's kennel. Right. Next one, the bat that belongs to Kusal. Kalani, would you like to try?
Kusal's bat.
Yes, Kusal's bat. Right. Next one, the tree house that belongs to my father. Sulaksha, would you like to try?
My father's tree house.
Yes, my father's tree house, right? So sometimes if the word, the what, which belongs to my father, it might have multiple words as well, because tree house is a single object. Okay. And the last one, the storybook that belongs to Temika. Vitulya, would you like to try?
Temika's storybook.
Yes, very good. Temika's storybook, right? So I think it is clear to all of you. It is not quite difficult, and I think all of you got it correct. So that is very good. So whenever we are writing, why we need to know this is, when we write, we do not need to always explain it, right? So when we are writing paragraphs, we do not need to say, this land is owned by my father, right? We do not need to write it in long sentences. We can say, this is my father's land. So it is very simple, and the idea is given to the reader easily, right? So whenever we are writing, we need to use this possessive form, because it is going to compress or reduce the length of the sentence, and it will give the belongingness of a particular object to a particular person very easily, right? So whenever we are writing, and also when we are writing, the other important thing is apostrophe S, right? We cannot write simply Lahirus without the apostrophe, right? If we write it without this apostrophe, as an example like this is wrong, right? So we cannot write it like this. We need to add the apostrophe here, right? It is a must. Right. Okay. That is the end of that activity. So since the time is also gone, next time, or I could say this Wednesday, I thought we will do this reading activity, right? So this is actually the unit 2 in your pupils book, right? So the same unit, we have to first start with a reading, right? So you can go through this written paragraphs here at home. Try to read it by yourself and try to understand what it says, because after reading it, we will have to find some answers to these questions. So at home, please get ready with this activity. We will read, each one of us will read maybe sentence by sentence. Likewise, each of us will read it. So practice at home, because when we read, how we can improve is by practicing, right? So practice this at home, and then on Wednesday we will read it, and then we will try to find the answers for the questions, and then maybe we will do this activity too as well, if we have enough time, right? Okay, so with that, I think we can conclude the lesson for today. So thank you for joining for today's lesson and actively participating in the activities we did. So we will meet again this Wednesday. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Thank you, teacher. Good night.
Okay, good night, Bashita. Good night, all.
Thank you, teacher. Good night.
Okay, you're
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome, Sulaksha.